What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Etheria restart video. Today the official launch is happening here in just under an hour or so, and I cannot wait. What better way to kill some time than to go over the best characters to invest into here on the official launch early, mainly because I made a guide earlier. There's a million other guides out there. However, if they weren't made pretty recently here, there's been some huge changes, namely the buffs and nerfs patch, as well as some introduction of new characters. So we're going to go over all of that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's jump straight into it. All right, y'all, let's first jump into the patch notes here. That's going to cover the new units as well as the buffs and nerfs. And this is why it's important to make sure whatever tier list guide you're following in terms of what characters to invest into is up to date, because this was quite a doozy. So let's start with the new characters. Here we have Mio. And I'm not really going to go over her kit or anything like that, but just be aware, I will give her an honorable shout out later, because I've been hearing people rave and talk about how good her kit is. And I do think it is very good. Definitely worth considering, but we'll talk about that later in like the reroll section, probably, if you're targeting some light and dark units, apex characters. We have a new character SR as well, Mizuki Makoto. And we have the confirmation that United Front, Guild Wars, essentially, Clan Wars, whatever game you're coming from, right? Your guild, your United Wars, PvP is going to be there. So make sure you guys are in a union, which is what the clans are in Etheria. And if you don't have one, I do have a second guild. My main guild is full, but I have a second guild coming up. So if you need a spot, hit me up quick. Stop by my live streams, go on the Discord, and try to get in. It's very important to be in one, and you want to be in one that's very active as well. There's some other events going on too, but let's go ahead and jump straight to the point I'm making this video about, and that's there's a lot of balance adjustments, meaning buffs and nerfs. So we're not going to go over every single one, but just take note that red means there was an increase to their stats. It is a little misleading, as some units like Kloss, where the red is a lot of red, but you know, it could be considered kind of like a slight nerf. But overall, red is good, green is bad. Okay. Now, this is why I think some adjustments need to be made in terms of who you want to reroll for, in terms of who you're going to take with your targeted banner, your selector, whatever you want to call it, especially for units right here like Tiamat. If you guys can see, she got some pretty decent nerfs to her kit. I still think she's going to be good, but this is why I think a lot of people should reconsider some of their choices. You know, say Rahu, big buffs here, Ling. Rosa got a tiny slap on the wrist. This is nothing. She's still very, very good. We'll talk about her later. Born, the Kloss. This is the one I was talking about where this might be considered a slight nerf because of the way they changed it. But overall, it's nothing too big. Freya, slight nerf, still amazing. And then a lot of the SRs, the main ones are like Sonya here. This is going to be what's influencing my decision, where I may not build her. At least at the start, I might go for a different healer, which once again, we'll talk about in a minute. Marvel. Huge nerfs, no surprise to anybody, but I still think he's going to be a must-build character. So keep that in mind. Victor might sway people to build D-Ting instead if you're free to play. And then units, the Freya R unit, Researcher number 41, nerfs. This may mean you don't want to build her, but I don't know. We'll see about that. Okay. That being said, let's go ahead and jump over to some of the characters that I want to just talk about already. Very briefly, guys, I want to talk about the rebate versus rerolling. Rebate, essentially, if you played in the open beta, Etheria will give you a little bit of a kickback, like doubling your currency. If you did play and you are spending, you're wailing out a little bit, you can skip over this reroll section, as that will kind of lock you out from rerolling on that account, because as you can see, there's no guest accounts available, okay? But don't worry, I think the rebate is definitely worth it. However, if you want to be free to play, I think rerolling is definitely worth a consideration. Pride1 here is the site I'm using. We're going to use this as well as to look at the characters, because unfortunately the game is not live yet. However, keep in mind, guys, that, you know, they do have some suggestions, some guides here, but I do think there's something to note that, you know, I'm going to talk about which units you want to focus on while rerolling, but in general, try not to take too long here if you are a min-maxer and worried about progression. If you're free to play, that's like a power player, try not to take too long. And, you know, if you're extremely unlucky, I don't know if you want to take more than, you know, a few days, even a day at most, because that will actually kind of hurt your progression early on. Just take note that, you know, it's going to vary player to player. But in general, rerolling is very powerful, like in a lot of other games. Use this guide. You know, you need to use salted emails, so you don't have to make a million of them. But let's just go and talk about some of the characters that I think are worth, you know, going for specifically, right? Actually, let's use this section here. So if we want to look at the SSRs, we'll go and look at the light and dark ones. Keep in mind the Mio character is brand new, but I did say I was going to talk about her. So I think the two most important are going to be Lily and Heinrich, with Lily, in my opinion, getting a slight lead. Now, the reason we only look at these two, the Constant and Disorder, the Light and Dark, the Apex characters, is because they're the most rare in the game. And honestly, I think they're also some of the most powerful characters in the game as well. You know, every character has a purpose and they can be used in a lot of different areas, but units like Lily, look at this. Even, you know, Pride win rates are T0 in every aspect. There's some units that are just busted. And I think units like Heinrich and Lily are definitely the top two. So if you're re-rolling, I would highly suggest picking, you know, one of these two in general. Units like Sonya, Massiah, Doki Doki are also very, very good. However, I think there is a clear advantage, especially with Lily. You know, Lily and Heinrich are kind of like a clear-cut step ahead. Now, Mio is the third one that, like I said, was untested, but I've been hearing people say she's very, very worth considering. So keep an eye out for her. But if you want to just keep it safe, Lily, Heinrich probably would be the best overall power boost for your count if you're re-rolling. All right, guys, I have the characters pulled up here. Just ignore the light and darks. I don't know how to filter them out here. But you're going to have a targeted or a selected banner where you can choose an SSR of your choice, right? Once again, excluding the light and dark units. You want to wait as long as possible on this because the game is going to flood you with so many free pulls. And even though dupes do matter, let me make myself clear. Unlike games like Honkai Star Rail, they're not as important. They'll usually just give you some stats here and there. And instead, we'd rather get new units, new SSRs to kind of fill out our roster. So my suggestion, right? Wait as long as possible. And then whatever, you know, if you're getting stuck on progression, if you're missing a key DPS for a certain boss, go ahead and take that from your selector after waiting a good while. You're right. After you get hundreds and hundreds of summons out. And I'm not kidding. That's how many summons you're going to have, even as free to play. But just as a blanket suggestion, so you guys have something at least to think on. I think my pick is going to be Real Mocha. I was actually between Tiamat and Real Mocha before the buffs, nerfs. And after Tiamat gets nerfed, I think Real Mocha is the clear-cut winner for me. Now, of course, if I do end up pulling her with free pulls, I'll grab something like a Kloss to replace my Gray later. But the reason I'm not going for her is because Gray, who we're going to talk about later, is a free SR defense breaker. And we can use him until we get her later. But as long as you take someone good, my suggestions are units like Ramoka, Rosa, even Tiamat is still good. Hell Kid, standout units. I think you'll be fine. Just wait as long as possible so you don't get a dupe once again. But my suggestion overall, I think, is going to be Real Mocha because she's the clear cut and best unit for Doki Doki. And Doki Doki is where we're going to get our speed gear. And in turn-based games, speed is king. Next up, I want to quickly go over the two banners that are going to be available at the start of the game. It's going to be Freya and Massiah. Let's go ahead and start with Freya real quick. Freya, just be aware, I think she's still a very, very good unit, and I'll probably still be pulling on her banner unless I get her on the general banner. Like I recommend just waiting as long as possible to pull on both the targeted banner as well as Freya's limited banner. And the main thing you want to be worried about, unfortunately I can't show y'all here, but on Freya's banner, specifically on those limited banners, you need to be aware that you cannot pull light and dark units, and there's actually rate ups for certain SRs and things like that. So it's a different style of banner, and you should be aware of what you can and cannot pull in there. So free to plays, be very careful on pulling for her, even though she's still a very good unit. They get some slight nerfs, I believe, but just be aware that you can't pull things like the light and dark units here. So a big draw for pulling just in general is to get some of these Apex characters, but you can't pull them. So if you get unlucky, you have to go to 100 summons on Freya. That's 100 summons that you could have had a chance at getting, you know, any of these characters as well if you pulled on the general banner. Now, the other character I want to talk about is Massiah, and I think free-to-play should kind of shy away from these Apex banners unless it's the one you really want. If that's Massiah, who is a very good universal DPS, I think go for it. Really, you should play the characters that you like and you enjoy. But if you're a meta player, I think there's better choices than Massiah, like I talked about in the reroll section. Units like Lily and Heinrich, I think, are higher priority, but he's still very good. Just be aware that these banners cost 3 times the amount of gems, so they're very, very expensive. Next up, let's talk about Lian. I did talk about her in previous guide, and she's been unchanged. This character you need to invest into just for the, there's like an achievement, a new player kind of guide where you get free stuff. And one of them is to invest in this character. So the game is going to force you to invest into her. And I think she's definitely worthwhile, as she is one of the premier characters for Terramaton. I talked about Doki Doki. That's where you get your speed sets. Terramaton boss is going to be where you get like your attack and your health sets. And I think counter set as well. So in general, I think she's very, very good. Most players, especially free-to-play, should focus on investing into her. And the nice thing is, in beta, they had a kind of reset system, where the first one was free and then you pay gems to do follow-ups. But in general, I think they're going to have that at launch. And if you decide to pull, like if you pull a better DPS character like Massiah, you can go ahead and reset Lian. But I think most players, especially free to play, should definitely invest into her. Very good in Termaton, very good in just general PvE, very good in PvP as well, at least at the start. After that, let's go ahead and talk about the other character that is also free that I mentioned, and that's going to be Gray. This is going to be a free character you get at the start of the game. And a lot of times in other games, you know, the free characters are not that good. Gray is amazing. Free to plays, if you don't get like your Kloss, this guy is going to be your workhorse, your carry unit in a lot of areas of the game. AoE defense break, pretty fast, does good damage, and also provides crit buff for your units like that Real Mocha, early DPS carries like Lian, like the Massiah I talked about. And the nice thing is at the start of the game, you don't have the best gear, so you're going to be missing some crit. You can supplement that with Gray's kit here, as you can see. Additionally, there's one other character I want to talk about, and we will talk about the SRs that, you know, in general, the SRs here in just a second. But the other free character is going to be Kazuyo the Reverie. So I'll skip talking about her later when we go over the general SRs. But at level 10, you will get, I think around level 10, somewhere in the beginning, you'll get a box with 3 characters to choose from. Go ahead and just take Kazuyo the Reverie if you don't know what to pick. If you ended up getting one before that, you can choose a different character. But she is by far and away, and especially after the nerfs to characters like Kraken. Can I see Kraken over here? Where is Kraken on the list? There he is, right here. Updated. He did get some nerfs. So I think Kazuyo is going to be the clear, deep crowd control carry for that Doki Doki boss that I keep talking about. Just be aware that Doki Doki is very important to farm. That's why we're going to invest a lot of characters and focus on clearing that, especially the Hell and leading up to Inferno. So take this Kazuyo character for free. Next up, I guess, guys, to round out the video, let's just talk about in general the SRs, at least the standout ones. The nice thing about one of the great things about Etheria is almost every character can be worthwhile. I think there's only a few like really bad characters, and they're probably going to get buffs. But I'm going to focus on the few. Like, I don't want to overwhelm y'all. Just a few standouts that I think if you do want to invest into are definitely worth it. And remember, SRs are a lot cheaper and can be even more powerful, right? Because you can invest into all the SSRs with your lattices, with your resources. So a lot of these are very, very good and sometimes even better than their SSR counterparts. But let's go ahead and talk about the standout ones. I think Shiaki the Echo. She's kind of like Frey. So if you don't have Frey and you want a support unit that has like a lot of turn manipulation, she's very good. Dina is an interesting one. She kind of competes with Gray, so I would build Gray first. But she is by far and away one of the best, if not the best defense breakers, I think, for specific areas of the game like Termaton. And the nice thing is, too, even if you run 2 defense breakers like Dina plus Gray, she's also valuable there. So keep an eye out for her. D-Ting and Victor are kind of like the premier DPS for free-to-plays. But Victor did get some significant nerfs, so I think D-Ting is going to be your main DPS carry if you don't get someone better. So some people are also going to do SR-only accounts. The other standouts, we talked about Gray, we talked about Kazuyo. Kraken got nerfed. I think he's still going to be good, especially for PvP. But remember, take Kazuyo. I think she's better, especially on lower investment too, for Doki Doki and crowd controlling. Marvel, I talked about in the patch notes where he got nerfed, but I think he's still very, very important. You guys can see here on this Pride 1 tier list, he's very good in Doki, Terra, and even Aurora. On top of that, guys, there's other bosses like Nico Nana, which is not talked about in any of these guides because it's a shell that you unlock at level 35, a shell boss. And he's very, very important there because of the way the boss mechanics work. In general, I think he's still very good. But the fact that he got nerfed so heavily, maybe there's some other competition, but I'm still definitely going to build him. The other characters, Makoto, I don't know about because she's brand new. But almost all these characters can be used somewhere or the other. Oh, the last thing I want to talk about, Sonya. I kind of talked about Sonya is a great healer, but with her nerfs, I'm actually going to lean and try out this character this time around on global launch, Valerian. So the main difference between the two, without overwhelming y'all with info, Sonya is more for like reviving, and she can also stun or heal while stunned, while Valerian is going to have access to like invincibility. So for bosses like Doki Doki, where you get focused down a lot in areas like PvP, if you want to keep a key DPS carry alive, I think Valerian is going to be better there. And the main thing is just Sonya got slight nerfs, so I think that's going to lead me slightly to trying her out. I've been hearing great things. But in general, both of these are great SR supports until you get the SSR, the free SSR Ling Luo on day 7. All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap it up there because once again, I don't want to overwhelm y'all. But please stop by my live streams, hit me on Discord. If you have any questions, I'll probably be live by the time you'll watch this, so stop by and say hi. I'm so excited to play Etheria, and thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.